Along with pulling lots of henbed and dead nettle around the garden, I've also been planting a few things. When using used soil, I usually scatter some 10-10-10 fertilizer on top. Then I work it in with my hands, wearing gloves, of course. In this case, I'm planting some sugar and snap peas in a 10-gallon grow bag. For these, I usually plant about 8 around the outside of the grow bag, then a couple in the middle. I like to plant them about 1.5 to 2 inches deep, and then I keep the soil moist until they come up. When the soil is extremely dry like it is now, I like to add water every day until it looks like it's holding the moisture. And in a couple of weeks, we should have some little pea sprouts. Last year, I planted some Mary Washington asparagus seeds in a container and in a 10-gallon grow bag. I left them all winter, and the ones in the plastic container didn't seem to make it through the winter, but the ones in the grow bag did just fine. Here, I'm removing some of the dead growth from last year before I dig them up. I was really surprised by how substantial the roots were on these young plants, so I tried to just put my trowel very low and not break off any more of the roots than I had to. It's very hard to see in this shot, but a lot of the plants have green growth already. I was surprised by how many healthy little asparagus plants we ended up with. If I counted correctly, I ended up with 27 plants. To plant them, I like to dig a trench and then have the crown of the plant about 6 inches deep in the trench. And then as the plant starts to grow, I add more soil until the trench is full. Here's a closer look at one of these young plants, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of growth already, and more to come. It was time to get the green stalk planter ready to use, so the first thing I needed to do was level the base that I use for it. It's important for the base to be level because if you don't have a level surface for the green stalk planter to go in, it will lean in one direction or another. The very bottom of the planter rotates, which makes it very convenient for watering and harvesting later on, and planting also. Each level of the green stalk planter has its own watering tray, and when you water from the top of the planter, it waters all levels at the same time. Filling the planter takes about 5 cubic feet of soil. Each level of this planter locks in place with a level below. Once it's securely in place, it will stay in place. Here's a closer look at how the upper level locks in place with the lower level. There are 6 places for it to lock in at each level. As I mentioned before, each level has its own watering tray that fits on the top of that level. Now that I have the second level done, I repeat the process 3 more times, and the planter will be ready to plant. The watering tray at the top holds a lot more water than the other levels, so you can flood the top watering tray, and it will slowly drip down and water all of the lower levels. I'm planting some early spring crops like spinach, lettuce, and snow peas. Later on, when the early spring crops are done, I'll plant summer crops in those same spaces. Since the soil is so dry, I'll put some water directly where the seeds are, and then I'll also water from above. I'll make sure to keep the soil somewhat moist until all of the seeds have sprouted. Here's a look at my second tray of tomatoes. I have another tray that's about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of this one. In this tray I have Chadwick Cherry, Ink Spot Micro, Shimo Furry Dwarf, Haley's Rainbow Dwarf, Potato Leaf version, F1 Cross, Uluru Ochre, that's a dwarf, Dwarf Baronia, Dwarf Purple Rain, another F1 Cross, Sun Gold, Dynamite Delight, Geranium Kiss, Orange Hat, Emerald Flame, and Rosella Purple. Now let's go inside and look at some of the peppers. Jimmy Nardello was one of the peppers that was involved in this cross. I really hope this inherits some of that Jimmy Nardello taste. I really like how this one is looking so far. One of the peppers involved in this cross is Midwest Otapino. It has no sign of any purple on it so far though. I used Midwest Midnight Orange combined with another pepper to produce this cross. This one has a little bit of pink in the leaves. I also used Midwest Oda Pino in this cross. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one tastes. I like the color of it pretty well so far. This little ornamental pepper is a little bit different in this generation than it was in the last. This is a Matapino crossed with a purple flash. I thought I'd give you a closer look at some of the leaves. Many of the leaves are dusted with green instead of having large patches of green. This is one of my favorites for variegation. The peppers start out purple, then turn to a dark orange. I'm not sure what this one is going to do, but I really like the blooms on it. This one has purple peppers that ripen to a deep, dark ruby red. If you remember what the sweet potatoes looked like last week, 1 week can make quite a bit of difference. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. And if you're just now finding this channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.